And a big welcome to everybody to the local soccer show. Stevie P here, guys. It's a Thursday. It's an odd Thursday. Scheduling conflicts on my part, and I apologize to my guest multiple times, but he was able to reschedule quickly and reroute it to this Thursday. Guys, we're gonna be talking youth soccer, but down south. South of the border, the Canadian border, we're going to the United States of America to talk to a fantastic guest tonight, guys. Milan fan, fellow Patreon. Amazing. Amazing guest once again on the local soccer show. That's thanks to our Milan connection at, of course, Milan Weekly Podcast, coast to coast, guys. Please remember to subscribe to the channel. If you want to know about Milan, you want to hear me talk, Vinny talk, Fabio, Gio, important. Subscribe to our channel, turn on those notifications, guys, and share this content that we're creating for you. Guys, I would not be able to start the episode if I would not mention Evangelista Sports, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to our sponsors, Evangelista Sports. Guys, I'm even repping the CSRDP. Look at this logo. This logo here. Where's the logo? Right over here. Look at this logo. It's been live and kicking since 1974, ladies and gentlemen. The logo is older than me, but the jacket is beautiful, coming from our friends at Evangelista Sports, who will be able to provide your club with sports apparel, jackets, jerseys, socks, shin pads, shoes, and of course, guys, it's the mecca of caucho and football wear. In EPL, Serie A, La Liga, World Cup, national teams. You want it? Go get it. Evangelista Sport, guys. You can check them out online. Or if you're in the beautiful Belle Province of Quebec, Montreal, please check them out at 6821 Boulevard Saint Laurent. I guarantee that once you take a visit there, you will gain a couple of pounds because of our beautiful little Italy here in Montreal. Without further ado, I'm solo tonight, guys. So it's me manning the buttons. We don't have the great Marcello in the background. He had some personal things to take care of. So please bear with me and we will get this party started, of course, guys, right now. Guys, let's give Milan Weekly Podcast, the local soccer show, welcome to fellow Milanista, fellow Patreon member, Nick Kostopoulos, U11 head coach of Phoenix Rising West Valley Wing.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
Guys, it's a pleasure. We're all the way in Phoenix, guys, right now. So thank you, Nico, for taking the time. I know we're a couple of hours difference. Nico, let's get this out of the way. How did you get involved in soccer? Tell us a little bit about yourself and if you had a playing career and how you got into coaching.
Sure. So my father, he grew up in Greece, was raised there. He played semi-professional soccer there, growing up. And then when I was about 8 years old, we started kicking the ball around in the backyard with some drills, some basic things that he knew. Then about 10, he signed me up for my first youth soccer team out in Elmont, New York. That's near Queens, at a club there. It wasn't much organized, I remember, not compared to today's training at all. Played there roughly for about a year and a half. And then we moved out further out east to the suburbs, Suffolk County, New York. Played for another club. It was a really good club, actually. The head coach wasn't that great. He was more of a volunteer. My dad had to step in. Was the assistant coach. That was interesting, by the way, with his Greek temper. And that's where it kind of started off. I started playing center back, more sweeper at the time. Then kind of went back and forth between that and goalkeeper. We won a couple of division titles. Nothing to brag about. It was at the time it was exciting. Then I stopped playing for a while. I got involved with baseball. Little League baseball, and traveling with teams and that sort of thing. And then about my last year in high school, I found that passion again. So I started training. Then I went to John Jay College, which is in New York, New York. They have a Division III program out there. And I was a walk-on tryout. I remember it like it was yesterday. Walked on the pitch thinking I was the man. And noticing, when they grouped us together, the defenders, I was the shortest one for about 6 inches.
Wow.
Just big kids, big, athletic, 6'1", 6'2". And I kind of found I rode the bench for the first half of the season, and then I quit the game because I wasn't getting any playing time, and I wanted to play. Then I just played some rec leagues, and then found myself years later, right before my daughter was born. I had that passion again; it was reignited. So I got involved, got my 11v11 certification out here in Phoenix. Then I was brought on to an assistant coach where I'm currently coaching now for Phoenix Rising Soccer Club out here in Arizona. So the way that works is we have a large footprint since we're part of the USL team, the Phoenix Rising team. By the way, that's Drogba's old team as well. Drogba we used to play for them and was one of the owners. They wanted the owners at the time, they had their kids playing at some youth soccer team in Scottsdale, but they purchased the Rising team and they integrated that team with the academy. And their vision was to have clubs all over Phoenix, covering every side: west side, north, south, east, west.
Yeah, and that's a really really interesting point, and I'm not gonna hide it. After I knew Nicko was coming on, and I wanted to see where he was coaching and so on and so forth, and I pulled up the Phoenix Rising youth map, and it's a huge difference from what I'm used to seeing here in my province and in my country. Though I could speak mostly for Quebec, and been around the game for quite a while. Stopped like yourself when I didn't have kids and lost a bit of that passion. But as soon as I had my son, I got that passion back, and I wanted to. I First of all, I wanted to know if he wanted to play soccer, and he did. And then after that, it was like you said, I needed to try to find a way to give back and try to get into this game and make things better, right? So. For us here, the way it works, yes, we have an MLS team, but they have their own academy. Quebec's not really a good friend of academies. They don't like academies because they go Canada soccer, Quebec soccer, regional soccer, and then after all the clubs report to specific regions, and it's many regions, right? So example, the region that I'm in is the Concordia region that X holds X teams. We have in the west Lac, and where Marcello's son plays, uh, that's the Lac St. Louis region. See, it's two regions, multiple regions in this huge province, and they have a whole bunch of clubs that carry that 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 spread all over the map, and they're nothing. When I looked at your map, I was like, everybody's the same. Everybody is Phoenix Rising. So that's really interesting. If you could explain to us how that came about, and who do you play against? Because
So
you spread across all of Phoenix.
sure. So things have changed. So even though we're branched out and part of the Rising Academy, we're kind of siloed from each branch. Everybody kind of runs their own program the way they see fit. To a certain extent, we're given training modules every week to follow, which is funny because they kind of take it from the U.S. Soccer Federation's website. They don't change it. They just give us a PDF format, and I'd say most coaches don't even follow it because when they put this in place, they have certain things in mind about how because Scottsdale, since that's the headquarters, I should start with that. They're the ones that set the directive for the rest of the clubs, the rest of the chapters. And they've been around a lot longer. Their players because it's a wealthier place. They have more money there at Scottsdale. Um, and the West Side, we have more working families and a lot of Mexican families as well. They're just making ends meet. So when that comes to that, their kids have higher access and they have a little higher level coming in. So the training modules are really designed for their teams. So when they try to implement them, well, it says like, well, for example, this week we got to work on defending. All right, but if my team couldn't score a goal in the last tournament, what are we going to work on? Offense, passing. So that happens a lot where most coaches they don't follow or either just adapt it to their own teams. They take a look at it and they adjust it from there.
Yeah, and no, it's something that's a bit interesting. Phoenix Rising, their actual USL team, do they have any input on what the academy is doing?
No, not at the youth level, because the academy is broken up in three branches. You have the the youth academy, junior academy, which is I'm in. The youth academy is from like starting at 6 to 9 years old, 6 to 10. That's 7v7, 5v5 little games. Now that my kids, the team that I have, they're U11, we've got promoted to the next step, junior academy, and at this portion of their training careers, their playing careers, it's all about learning how to train. It's by then they should have some foundational skills, how to pass the ball, but for my case and my team specifically, we're the C team. I'd say a lot of the kids have never played club soccer before, so they should be playing recreational. So it's kind of it's a challenge because you have half the kids that are really ramped up, they know how to pass, shoot, and you have the other kids that having a hard time making a 5 yard pass.
Is it a pay model, or
Yes, it is.
you need to make the team?
It's pay to play.
Yeah.
There's a fee structure, uniforms and fees for the season, plus tournaments as well. They have to pay for. I mean, the good thing is, I'd say all the tournaments right now they're in state. We don't travel out of state yet. Maybe when they get a little older, we might travel to California, Vegas, Texas, but everything is in state. So in terms of traveling fees, it's not a lot. But same case, I've lost players. I've had players come try for the team, and they've come from really lower socioeconomic families. Um, and when you offer them a scholarship, there are scholarships available. Unfortunately, because these parents are either getting paid under the books, they're not taxing their wages.
Yeah.
They're not eligible for these scholarships.
I have a question, and
Sure.
again, please, Nico, feel free to tell me it's none of your business, but I could tell you what it costs for us to play here. A typical, because unlike Phoenix, we have a winter and we have a sub, and it's divided into two. It's similar structure. We do lose some players to hockey in the winter, and that will lower, and it's harder to get actual field time because of the infrastructure, right? My club, we're very lucky. We have great infrastructures. We have a lot. It's just to run the league of the complete region of 10 to 14, 15 teams playing in a league. It's really hard week to week with the different age groups from 12 to from 10 to maybe even 13, 14, right? Here we stay until 12, if I'm not mistaken, where we're playing 9v9, 7v7, and then 9v9, and then 11v11 for the time being. After 13, we'll talk about that maybe later. So, we're looking at about roughly, 500 for the winter in terms of for the season, and another 600 for the summer. So about 1100 bucks it's costing a child to play soccer for a specific club, and I'm rounding it up. I don't even know how much it is for my club. Some clubs is more, some clubs is less, right? So if we could compare to what a child is paying at Phoenix Rising, how much is
I'd
that?
say
Pretty
it's
much in the
about roughly
ballpark.
this. It's about roughly the same.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's about roughly the same.
And I'm not diminishing the fact that it's not it's a pretty penny. It's not
It's a
cheap.
penny. It because there's families with multiple kids playing too. I mean, I have
Yeah,
parents that on my team, they have three, 4 kids, and they're all playing at the same club for
that's a
multiple
lot of
teams.
money. That's a
So
lot of money.
multiply that fee by 4 times or 3 times, and that adds up over the season.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. In terms of, like, let's say once they pay for this, like, how if you could explain to us a week, a training week for you guys at Phoenix Rising, what would it consist of? How many
Sure. So
practices and
right
what
now
games?
we're training 3 times a week, uh, but that's a challenge too because we have we set our own training. Like I stated before, we kind of set our own training for the week, and we base it on field availability. Um, One thing I wanted to touch before I get any further. So on the west side here, there's plenty of space. However, in the last year, um, a lot of clubs have opened up, different clubs. There's a big club from California called Surf. They opened up. They took over in a club out here on the west side. So we're competing for space with, I don't know, 5, 6 other clubs for field space. So that being said, we try our best. So for my training, we usually Mondays is we go over the last game, the pros and cons of what happened, the good, positive things that we did as a team, and things that we need to work on. Then we kind of get into some warm up passing drills, some fun things, some passing drills, dribbling drills. We have this really fun game called Knockout, what the kids love. It gets them to be in that situational game where they're dribbling, they're scanning the field, watching their back for defenders. Um, that runs about an hour and a half, hour 45. Then the next we practice again on Wednesday. That's more of a conditioning day, but it's not conditioning without the ball. Everything's on the ball. That's a big thing that I like to put on my team to impress on them and other coaches as well. Because I've seen coaches where they've just conditioned their kids 30, 40 minutes. They haven't touched the ball, which is
Make them
insane to me.
run.
Make them run all day. And to me, that's kind of being lazy because they're not, they need to touch the ball. They
That's
need to get
old school soccer training.
old school. I used to do that. We used to run laps around
Yeah.
the field 5, 6 times.
Yeah, we used to. Our coaches used to find a mountain. They loved finding mountains and hills.
The sprints, yeah, they're killer. Granted, my kids now could probably do them, but what's the point?
Yeah.
And then for Thursday is more of a tactical overview. We go over the opponent we're playing, as much information as we can get on them, right? If we played them before, we have an idea. If there's a new opponent, well, it is what it is. Then we go over the formation that we're going to use. So currently we're using, I'm playing 4 in the back, 4-2-2 formation right now, which seems to work pretty well with the kids that I have and the skill sets that they have. So we go over formations, roles, responsibilities on the pitch. Then we do some light tactical training on the pitch, playing out of the back with defenders, pressing. And then we just finish off with some, shooting drills. This new drill that I kind of came up on myself. Well, I'm sure other coaches have used it before as well. It's called King of the Pitch. So I break up the teams, usually 3 aside, and I bring in the goals in a little bit, and they just play for 3 minutes. 2 teams play for 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Whoever scores the first 2, 3 goals first stays on the pitch. The other team rotates off, and the other team comes back on, and they just keep going.
Yeah, amazing. You said that these are things that you've come up with and stuff. I'm interested to know, like, is there a methodology of the youth, Phoenix Rising youth? Do they have one methodology? Like,
They
do they
do.
want you to build up your
Yeah,
teams?
it's build up. We're all building up. All our teams, we build up. Um, that's one thing you do see. We do have a way of playing, regardless of the skill sets of players that we have. Even if between the C team and even the A team, um, you'll see us. I mean, obviously, the speed of the game is different for us. We don't have that tempo yet, but we do play from the back. But that's tough too, because going back to what you stated before, and I didn't touch on it, you talked about the competition that we have. So that's an interesting topic.
That's
so
why we're
we're
here.
so we're currently in. It's called AZDL. It's called Arizona Development League.
Okay.
We're in the fourth division, which is the lowest bracket, which should be on paper evenly matched games. However, there's currently two teams there that they've put together the biggest kids, fastest kids possible. I mean, when you see them on the pitch, my kids were like Smurfs. They're normal 10, 11-year-old kids.
Yeah.
And we're playing against these kids. They're 5, 6 inches taller. And they're pressing, they're physical, they play a little dirty, more like adults play, not kids. So playing out from the back is almost impossible sometimes.
Yeah.
So you're trying to teach them the right way to play, but these other kids are, when they're taking it to you, you're losing 6-0 in the first half.
Yeah.
How can
It's
you tell
it's
your kids keep playing it from the back when you need to score a couple of goals to stay a little bit competitive on
yeah.
the pitch?
It's tough. But is there no policing from? And again, I'm trying to
No, there
compare to
isn't.
Canada. To Canada. I'm
No,
trying to compare to Canada, right? Like here we would, and there is no policing here too, and we have similar problems depending on the size of the club, right? So again, my club is a club that is very lucky and has a lot of members, a lot of players that come in. We can build we'll put it ABC team, right? And we'll try to keep the A players and try to build up the B players to bring them up to the A team, and vice versa, C, and bring them up and move them up and down. That's what the CDC, that's what's called, is trying to enforce. There's no policing, right? So again, sometimes I show up at games as well, and we have the similar, maybe not 6 inches taller, but you see that the talent level is something that belongs in the A, and you've seen these kids play against your A team, and why are they again playing in your B team? Sometimes it's a good motivation, but I can imagine how hard it would be in terms of the just the basic mental health of your kids that are you're playing, is that they're going to show up against this team and they're going to end up losing 6-0. And also for that team that's beating them 6-0, what are they going to learn from that?
nothing. At this
Nothing.
age, nothing. They're happy, sure. The parents are ecstatic, they're cheering and yelling, but these kids, and I could tell most of them are going to burn out if they continue playing like this and keep, beating teams 9, 10, 11 nothing, and even see it at these particular teams. They're in first place, haven't lost a game in our bracket, and their goals for is about 50 goals. They've scored 55, and maybe goals against 2,
Wow.
which it doesn't make any sense. That's insane. So, and I actually had uh, an argument with the coach after the game. We got into it because at halftime, instead of going over, in one particular, the first time we played this club, I spent the whole halftime speech on teaching my kids how to protect themselves.
Yeah.
And after the game, I told the coach, hey, great job teaching the kids how to play. And he took it personal, but he knew where I was going. And I even, had a discussion with the referees on it. I'm like, this, because at the end of the day, at this age, and you probably feel the same way too, Steve, is our main objective, besides teaching them how to play right, is protecting the kids.
Yes. Yes, we don't I don't mind the physical play, but it has to be a two-way street, right? It
Sure,
has to
of
be,
course.
if the other team that I'm playing against is physical, I I'm not going to encourage it, but I would expect my kids to understand and start picking up and being a little bit smart on their own, not being someone who's playing a video game, but raise the level of intensity a little bit, right? But if there's no physicality from that other team, I will be on them for tackles that they shouldn't be making, or pushing. I don't want that. That's not part of the game. As coaches, and like you said, it's a responsibility first and foremost to protect these kids and make sure that they don't get hurt, right? So I agree with you 100% on that. What about if we go past Arizona and and let's say U.S. soccer? Like, how do they trickle down information to clubs like Phoenix Rising? Right? Is there an open channel? Is there no channel at all? Like, you
There
said.
is. It's usually through our every few months we have a coaching clinic. Everybody, the whole club gets it from Scottsdale, West Valley. Um, we meet up at the Scottsdale facility, and it's about 1 or 2 day class court clinic, and they sit down and they talk about the roadmap of the club, what we're trying to accomplish, et cetera, et cetera. But they also give us feedback from U.S. Soccer in terms of you know renewing our licenses, how what maybe their training modules are going to change based on U.S. Soccer, what their modules look like on their uh, coming down from their directors. But that's about it. I mean, the only other than that, whatever channels, it's up to us to create those channels as coaches, which I have over the last 6 months, is create that network with other coaches in other states, just to compare how things are, because it seems like the trend is, because in the United States, soccer is the most popular youth sport, and it's been for years. But what I'm noticing now is a lot of ex players, ex coach, and maybe professionals, played in amateur, or even just people who've been around the game for a while, are taking advantage of the situation, um, and they're opening up so-called academies, and they're either teaching their kids it's only one-on-ones, individual skills. So they're breaking away from the trend. It's not even a team sport anymore. They're worried about how many likes can these kids get for showing they can dribble the ball, do the Ronaldo chop, or the Zidane 360, or the Cruyff, when a Cruyff moves, and
The Cruyff.
the Cruyff. And it bothers me because I see what's going on, and a lot of these parents think that's the one way to go. You know,
And this, hold on, before we just go, let's
sure.
just be clear. This is like they open up an academy, which is kind of like a specialized training. So if I
It's
would
training, and they
compare it
call
to
it
hockey,
academy.
like power skating, or a striker camp, or a defender camp, is it something like that?
They mostly focus on offense.
Okay.
They're just doing some flashy drills, and it doesn't look like they're teaching them how to, like, the fundamentals.
And if you play in this specialized academy, can you also play at your club? Can you play with both?
Sure, they could. Yeah, I mean, if you can afford it,
You can afford it, yes, of course.
And another thing I'm seeing as well, that is their schools. So there's a school in Texas that I came across. Um, I don't know if I should name it. It's called Sunny G Academy. It looks like he's a former player in Austin, from Austin
Okay.
FC, and he opened up a school. It's a K through 12, I believe, or something. But they're also it's soccer as well. So your kid goes to school, learns the basics of what they're learning at other base elementary school, but they're also being taught to play soccer.
Yes, we had a guest on from Florida, similar type of school, who went through, and we spoke about it there. You see that's again, if you're tying in school and soccer becomes a sport there, I don't have a problem with it again, but I don't know how much it costs, right? So like I don't know,
That's
is
just
it something that's affordable? Like I'm not 100% sure, and I hate going into financials all the time, but for me the thing that bothers me about financials is when you can't play. Like you can't even play at your club. If you have the financials to send your kid to a school where he can go to school, and play soccer, I'm okay with that. Yeah, but if you don't, if we've come to the point where soccer is not even affordable, even to play as an activity for kids, then that's where I have a big problem with it.
Well, that's the thing too. Well, so if we're focusing solely on club soccer or these soccer schools, all right, there's two things we need to look at. One, it's taken away from high school sports because years ago, if you wanted to gain attract attention from scouts, scouts, or whatever, professional scouts, you played on your high school team, and that was the main focus. Now, in order to gather any attention, you need to go to these. Well, if you're actually at that level, you need to be either at a really top team or an ECNL team, which is a whole different price bracket,
Okay.
and they go to these showcase tournaments,
Wow.
and
So then,
that's like, I think for a team like that, I think the registration fee for a showcase is like almost a little over $1,000 for a team,
wow,
not including travel, hotel,
accommodation. Yeah.
accommodations, et cetera, et cetera. And if they're traveling from, and it's taken away from the school time too, because a lot of these tournaments, the kids are flying to from California to New York, for
Yeah.
example, just to go play. And they're 12, 13 years old.
So that's the one of the interesting. I'm not gonna say good because everybody's on the fence. I don't want to push anybody in any direction, but that's something that Canada has done, and especially Quebec. Again, I can speak for my province. High school football, high school soccer. They've kept it. They've kept it. Yes, but they've made it almost like kids can do. They'll do one period less in high school and be able to play soccer half or a percentage of the time while they're in high school. It's
That's
called
interesting.
sport études in French. The translation in English would be sports and study, but they combine that for again it is a cost again, and a parent has to be able to afford that, but it's a good avenue for these kids to continue to refine their talent with professionals and people and actual teachers and coaches. It's not teachers that are running these programs, it's coaches. Someone from the region will take care of the sport etude in a specific school, so they're getting a good program if it's soccer and it's extended to other sports as well, hockey as well. So they try the clubs and the high schools try to work together to make sure that yes, you can go to school and you can play, but you have to be still registered at your club at the highest level, so at a competition level, to be able to continue doing both at the same time. So you can do both at the same time. That's where I think it differs a little bit from the states, right? And for us, there's no exceptional level. Here we go. I'll go old school, double A once you get a certain age, and then you go to triple A, and
Sure.
triple A is the highest level. Now they've put some fancy letters in front of it, but for me, it's triple A. And once you're at triple A, that's where depending on the team that you're at, you get noticed by the province, and you can make the Quebec team. Once you're in the Quebec team, you can get noticed by the country, and you become on and you go national, right? So that's the pyramid here. How does it work in the states for some sort of pyramid like that? Is it because you guys are just so many more people than we are?
I'm sure it talks about professional soccer.
No, I'm talking about amateur.
Oh,
This is
amateur.
amateur.
So so say for example, my players, say they continue playing, and once they get, because we have another year of 9v9, and then we go to 11 the following season, right? 2 seasons. Um, Once some of those kids start improving and start really excelling at at the sport, um, they start trying out for the ENCL, ECNL. That's for boys. That's when they start traveling more. They start traveling out of state, playing these President Cups are called, and they start getting, um, if they're really good, they get invited to ID camps from U.S. Soccer. I think that's free. I believe that's picked up from U.S. Soccer, those costs. Um, and then if they're if they're still showing, they're still promising and talents, um, and they're noticed, say from Phoenix Rising, the main club, they invite them to play for their academy, the team, like their Primavera
Yep.
team, um, and they go from there. And then from that point on, they get an invite to the pro team, or maybe you know who knows, they can go play Division 3 soccer, or 2 or 1. Um, and that's where it stands now. That's the pyramid in the states.
Yeah, and again, that's a great segue to my next question. Like we know, and it's a big hot button topic here in Canada. The kids, they do attend showcases where it's the complete opposite. It's the actual scouts, and I had the pleasure and luck in that. Get a big shout out to my friend Jack Marziliano. The only defect that this poor guy has is he's an interista, but he's a great soccer buddy of mine, who's helped me tremendously. And he called me one day, and he said, "Come for a coffee." And I went for a coffee, and I brought my son, and he's like, "Watch!" He's like, "There's the showcase today." And I said, "I had never heard of something like this. I've heard of them existing, but never one here." And it was a showcase for his. He takes care of the sport etude, for his sport etude. And I'm telling you, Nico, I was shocked. Like I felt like I was like I was at March Madness. I was seeing colleges from the states in, like, right next to my house. They're in an infrastructure that's really close to my house, and they're gonna sit and they're gonna watch these kids, and they're gonna try to scout them. And I was like,
Sure.
wow, this is great. This is fantastic stuff. Really, really fantastic stuff, and a great opportunity that when I played, yes, people I did play, did not exist, and it was nowhere close to that. It was, and I played with, and I'm still friends with players that were fantastic and got scholarships, but they had to like break walls, and they had such a hard time, and the avenue was so hard. And now these kids are like, they have an avenue, they have a multiple avenues to take to get something out of it. And sometimes I speak with parents and some of my friends, and like, guys, a scholarship at a US college is not a joke.
That's amazing if you get that. Yeah.
That's like serious money, and it's a serious experience, and it's hopefully a great education, and it's a life experience. It's a big thing. Like, these people are investing serious money if you're selected. And the pro game, and that pipe dream, it's less than a percent, right, Nico?
Very
And
true.
parents need to understand that it's less than a percent. Like, we need to start managing our expectations with these kids. And I don't know if it's the same for you guys in Arizona, but here, we need to, as coaches and as clubs, start to manage the expectations of our parents.
Well, that's difficult, especially when you have people, parents pushing back. So I mean, I could speak from experience. Though I've had parents, you know, they get frustrated with the losses, and I've told them multiple times, trust the process. The kids are learning the game. But then you have some parents that they're kind of blindsided about. They see their kid being, he's the fastest kid or whatever the case is on the team, and they think he should be on the 18, for example. Or, well, my kid's going to be a pro one day, and they spend these money on these one-on-one skill camps and, training, off-season training, conditioning drills with weights and condition, CrossFit and all those other crazy things. And I try to educate them as much as I can. I tell them, listen, I go, first of all, it's a dedication. You want to be a better player. You need to trust. You need to learn the basics. You need to be part of the team, and then possibly maybe the chance of your kid actually playing at a professional level is extremely hard, even in the United States. I mean, the best case, like you said before, is them to go to college, get an
Yeah.
education, play for 4 years, whatever the case is, 2 or 3 years, have that experience, and that's it. But at least there's a pathway. But there's parents that see their kid go up. My kid's the next, I don't know, Messi or Maradona, whatever the
Or
case is.
and they
Like,
even go
floating.
homeschool, like Landon Donovan or Clint Dempsey. Like these guys played pro at a really, really high level. And they're far there's far few. There's not many.
Very far few, especially in the states now. That then, because that's where the other thing I wanted to kind of get into is the differences between the training here and over in, say, let's put Europe, because we know Europe better.
Yeah.
First of all, Europe, from my understanding, from speaking to people, their academies, say Sporting Lisbon's academy, it's free as long as you're talented and you're seen by somebody. They'll bring you on. It's not a pay to play system,
No.
which is a huge advantage because then every kid has a chance. Unlike here in the States, where a lot of kids are missing out because they can't afford it.
Yeah.
And then their training is their training is 20, 30 years ahead of ours in terms of everything. So if you go to Europe, or if you have a chance to go to Europe, you do have a chance, maybe, if that's your dream, is to make it to the pros.
Yeah. The thing is, we talk about it a lot with Marcello there, and I wish he would have been on because this is a good section for him, and he always brings it up. And again, it's very important in Europe. Our club, whether it be my club that you see on my chest or your club, it's not a club. It's a scuola calcio. In Italian, it's scuola calcio. It's like an introduction to soccer. You pay. You don't even. I don't think you even pay. Like you said, you go and you have fun, and they teach you the small basics. But then, like you said, let's go to continue with Sporting Lisbon. If they come to the Scuola Calcio and they see little Jimmy, well, they're going to take little Jimmy and they're going to bring him to their academy.
Of course, yeah.
And they're going to teach them their way. Scuola Calcio's gone after. Like, this is it's done after that. We don't see you anymore. And, you did touch on something that I wanted to talk about. And it's great that you brought it up in terms of, like, how we train, right? So, what I see here in Canada, and I don't know, and again, this is the beauty of local soccer show. I will send you the trainings that we do here. Unfortunately, they're in French, but I'll try to find them in English, and we can compare what we do, right? But what I see here is now it changed a bit. It is a little bit on individual and on individual talent and less on team. Uh, is it the same in from what you're getting from U.S. soccer? Is it more individual skills that they're focusing on, or they put in some, like you spoke about, some tactical practices that you have? I need to kick and punch to get a tactical practice.
Yeah, it's mostly small sided games. That's what their main focus on. They're basically basic drills. I mean, they're okay, I guess, depending, like I said, on the team and how you utilize it. I mean, some kids, I've come across some training modules that they've sent from us from the club, and I look at it and I go, I don't. If I take this to my team the way it is, I'll spend the first 30 minutes just going over where to movements, and we wasted half of the practice. And what
Yeah,
do we get out of it? Nothing.
yeah.
So
And
I guess it's
let's
based
expand on
on.
that. I want to
Sure.
expand on that because you said that we're 20, 30 years behind their training. Why would you say we're 20, 30 years
Well,
behind their training?
because I've actually, there's a coach in our club. He's part of the different districts. He's Italian. Him is Paolo. Really nice guy. So we played his team at a friendly match not too long ago, and after the game we talked about so he has connections at Fiorentina, and he went there. He has a B license, I believe, and pretty much he told me they laughed at him for having that there. It wasn't anything. It wasn't even worth bringing it up in Italy. So that's one reason I'd say that we're behind, because they in Europe they don't take us as serious here with our certifications.
They don't, and I apologize. I'm having some trouble with my camera there, so it's only Nico on the screen, so you don't have to see this round blob here. But let's let's go a little bit further than that, and let's see, if because we're coming to the end of the show,
Sure.
if you would be able to change something, let's start maybe at club level, and then build, do the reverse pyramid from bottom to top. What would you change?
Well, first I would first one thing is needed is more rec programs. So a lot of clubs don't have recreational programs because you need additional resources for that. You need more coaches, more field space. That way, kids coming in are not thrown into a competitive club right off the bat. They have time just to have fun, learn the basics for a season, have fun. Don't have any pressure on playing tournaments and week after week games. Well, I'd start off with that. And the second of all is make it more affordable, or you know get rid of the pay to play program altogether. I mean that's drastic, but I've had this discussion with other coaches, um, and this is something that in my own head that I'd like to maybe in the near future, maybe 5 6 years down the line, work on trying to break that wheel on a local basis at least to give a lot of kids in our area that opportunity to play.
Do you think the USL and the MLS have a responsibility to try to break this play to play stigma?
I think they do, yeah, and the professional players too. Um, I see them all the time talking about the problem, like Eddie Johnson and Tim Howard online. But what are they actually doing? I don't know. They talk about the problem, but I don't see them taking any action, as far as I can tell. So it starts from there's people who are influential in U.S. soccer to actually get that ball rolling. Because the way it is now, the way U.S. soccer is you have this old boys club, um, you know, from the top, and they're set in their ways. So that needs to change. I think you need new faces and new ideas. You still there? Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to Stevie P. There he is.
You stopped at Eddie Johnson, Nico.
Oh yeah, I thought it was still live. Oh, okay. I
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
sure what happened there.
yeah. I
It
know
was just,
it.
you went silent on me, and I kept talking. I thought we were still live.
We are still live. We are still live. You
Oh,
stayed
so Eddie
live.
Johnson. So sure. So Eddie Johnson and Tim Howard, I see them posting on social media all the time on how the pay to play program doesn't work, and especially Tim Howard because he trained in Europe. Um, he talks about his experiences over there, and but in terms of actually changing anything, I would say that's the responsibility on those type of players. If you're
Yeah,
gonna if you're gonna complain or make note of the issues, at least use your influence and your power to make that change. Well,
I agree. I agree that there needs to there's a bit of a problem. Again, we talk a lot about Canadian soccer. Now these clubs, for us, the Canadian Soccer Association, Soccer Canada, they started with a licensing program, right? So each club has a specific, criteria to meet for a specific license, right? And for us, it's regional, provincial, or national. And now every club is going Google Gaga, right? Every club wants to do everything that they need to do to get to a national. And I think, is there something similar in the States, or there's no club license? It's just
No, it's
basically,
just based on U.S. soccer's licenses.
okay, okay. Nico, I want to thank you so much. Is there anything else maybe that I'm missing that you
No,
want to bring
it's
up that
been
we didn't
great. I
cover?
mean, we can go on for another 3 hours on
We
this.
can. We can go on, and I want to be respectful to your time. I want to be respectful to to my time, and not have my wife kill me and throw me
Sure.
out of the
Yeah,
house.
same here.
But before we go, you know that I need to come, and I need to make my way out to Phoenix. That's one. And two, we need to start sharing a little bit of soccer knowledge, between ourselves, especially at the local level. Well, I want to end off with those fast paced questions, one off answers. So,
All right.
uh, who's obviously I know your favorite team is, but who's your favorite Milan player, present and back in the day?
President, I would say Kalulu, just defensive minded player that I am. And in the past, it all started with Maldini and Nesta. It started right there.
Who do you hate more, Inter or Juve?
Inter because of a certain midfielder that will go unnamed that we all know about.
uh, Outside of Italy, do you support any other team?
Olympiacos, from Greece. That's my father's club. So
If Greece would play Italy, who are you going for?
Greece because they have I'm Greek, so that's my
Yeah.
roots. So I would have to
Okay, so
go
let's say Greece versus the US.
Greece again.
Okay, and you know, the US have been successful. They've gone pretty far in some World Cups. They have a little bit of work to do right now, and get their program back on the right track. But do you have a favorite US player?
Uh, Currently no, but I guess Way, being that his father has roots with Milan, so
Of
that
course,
goes
we
out.
have to always have that connection to Milan. That's for sure. Uh, and again, we're gonna end it off with the burning question.
All right.
Nico gets home. I know Greeks are not famous for pasta, but you're gonna have a plate of pasta right now. You know, you have penne lisce or penne rigate.
And I already got the because I had it in Italy this past year. So
That's the right answer, Nico. That's the right answer. Guys, I want to thank you very much. Once again, the local soccer show, guys. Please subscribe to the Milan Weekly Podcast channel. Tune in on Mondays for myself and Vinny on Milan Weekly Podcast. Wednesday for Gio and Fabio from Coast to Coast. And every second Thursday, the local soccer show. Guys, obviously, there's always pre games from Vinny or Fabio or Gio before any big game. I want to thank you again, Nico. Thank you
thanks
so
again.
much. This is great. If you have any other guests that you want to send our way, please throw them towards Presidente, and he'll be more than happy to schedule them in. Guys, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Everybody who's going to be watching, guys. Ovunque and sempre, Forza Milan, guys. Forza Milan.
Forza Milan.